Hello and welcome to. Oh, hi. There's some people there. Let me know if you can hear me. I got this fancy mic over here. Make sure it's close enough. All right. So, is the mic working? We know. There's a chat box. So, let me know in the chat. Let me know you're here so I know who's here. I'm going to cover some of where we're at with the Venus cycle. And I'm going to read a little bit from this book that I've been sharing about in our Telegram group. So you know what I'm talking about, and you don't necessarily, maybe you don't want to buy the book, but I highly recommend it if you're working with the Venus cycle. This book, it's an easy read and it's beautiful, very elegant. The parts that I'm going to read to you today are just specific to, thank you, Sarah, specific to where we're at in the current Venus cycle. So let's first just do a little recap of the Venus cycle so we understand which part of the 584-day cycle we are currently in. And once we cover that, then we'll look at from the book what of the days we're in. And then after we get through looking at that, we will do some Q&A. So stay on so we can talk and just kind of see where everybody's at. And then just any questions that you have specific to Venus and the Venus cycle, you can ask any chart specific questions. The replay for this video, okay, good. I might need to even move it a little bit closer. I don't know. The replay for this video is going to be available in our Telegram group for a couple of days, and then it's just going to be on the central channel, which is where I have a lot of classes stored up, and you can go on and get anything. Okay, it's perfect. Leave it alone. Okay, thank you. All right, so if you guys remember, we started the current Venus cycle in January of 2022, and this is where I'm going to be pulling up my mental ephemeris. Eventually, there's going to be somebody that helps me figure out and get really comfortable with doing the share screen on here. I know there's an app for it because my friend, we were using it. I've used it before, but I'm not comfortable with it yet. So gonna pull up the mental ephemeris. So the dates might not be exactly perfect, but I have a roundabout memory from my mental ephemeris. So January 2022, Venus rose in the morning sky. So that was after a 7-day disappearance. So there's always going to be a shorter amount of time Venus not visible in either the morning or the evening sky. So that was a 7-day, and that was right after the retrograde. After Venus was retrograde, made 3 contacts with Pluto. That was in December of 2021. Then January, I want to say 7th or 12th, somewhere around there, Venus rose in the morning sky. And in the Mayan teachings, when Venus is in the morning sky, it relates to Venus in her warrior phase. So I had a really hard time absorbing this because I've always just put Mars warrior, Venus lover, sensuality, food, abundance, the senses, this receptivity. So in Tantra yoga, we have a practice where you would see something like a dessert. You look at it, you notice how your senses feel when you look at the dessert, and then you will put some of it in your mouth. So as that sweet taste is like dissolving on your tongue, all of your awareness gets dissolved into the moment of the sense pleasure. So this is for me Venus. And Venus in the morning sky, though, while it is still Venus, it is still sense pleasure, it is still the beauty and luxury of the senses, it is also associated with war. This rose in the morning sky in the sign of Capricorn. Morning sky associated with war. Under the sign of Capricorn means that for the whole 584-day cycle, Venus has this starts off anyway in a very warrior-esque, like, let's get this in Capricorn, let's get this money, let's get this structure, let's get this government, let's get this sovereignty. So there is and if you think about it, and I had been going out in the morning sky to observe Venus early in the morning, and there's this whole body feel. So in herbalism, we have a thing called a mouth fill, and you may have heard this. It's probably more than just herbalism, but you know, when you put something in your mouth and you're like, okay, is it mucilaginous? Is it the mouth fill? So in the morning, when I would go out to view Venus in the morning sky, there's a body fill to being out there pre-dawn, observing the light of Venus, which is like a diamond. It's the most beautiful, magnificent thing that you will see. Receiving that light into the eyes, there's a whole feel. And because it's in the morning and then the sun rises, there is this energetic feeling of wanting to go get the things you want. So in Capricorn, the things that Venus is wanting has to do with sovereignty, food sovereignty, all the sovereignty. So like being able to sovereignty. So being able to source your own medicines, your foods, even electricity. You know, I'm thinking, are my solar panels good? Do I need some backup generator, solar panel thing? Those were actually items that I was shopping for during that phase. Was it coincidental? I don't think that coincident. It is a coinciding incident to the fact that Venus was in the morning sky as a Capricorn with a Capricorn overtone. So there's an emphasis on the things that we need, like feeling compelled to go physically get those things. Okay, so then we go through different signs. I want to go straight to September, when I want to say September. Oh, I can't remember now. I did a video on this, and I did give the exact date, and that was titled Venus in the Underworld. So if you can look up, it's also in the Telegram group. You can see, maybe somebody could pin those up to the top, where I put together the dates of the phases of the cycle. So in September was the next dramatic phase, where Venus got within 9 degrees of the sun. So when Venus is within 9 degrees, now Venus is no longer visible, and we call this Venus in the underworld. So also, one more thing I want to mention is that part of this Venus cycle, um, Sarah asked, I forgot to answer. Sorry, Sarah. Inanna, queen of heaven and earth. And I'll put a link to this in the little note section here. So this book is beautiful. Definitely get it. So one of the other things about the Venus cycle is that as Venus is in the morning sky, Venus will be with the moon as the moon is waxing. So we will see a waxing crescent moon with Venus in the morning sky. once a month. So there's going to be 7, sometimes 8 meetings of Venus with the waxing crescent moon. I'm just taking a moment because I actually think that when Venus rises in the morning sky after that first retrograde, so when we initiate the Venus cycle, Venus is on a descending, so Venus meets with the waning crescent moon. So excuse and just how did we used to say this in the military, Justin? I think it was belay my last. So belay my last on that. Actually, so when we started the cycle in January, Venus was on descent. So Venus was going through the gates, descending downward. Belay my last, yes. So that means that when Venus meets the waning crescent moon, that's Venus descending into the underworld, which in September, that underworld descent happened. That's whenever we no see Venus visible in the morning sky. And this is an extra long, so a 90-day phase. In the story, during the long 90-day phase of Venus being in the underworld, there is mention of 90 drops of an anointing oil. So 90 drops of the anointing oil, and there's 90 days that Venus is in the underworld. So now on October 22nd, 24th, somewhere around there, because we had that eclipse on October 25th. And this meeting of Venus with the sun, they became exact. That happened just right before that October eclipse. So the meeting I talked about that other video, you can look at that. I'm not going to get so in depth, but that is basically where Inanna is hung on a meat hook. And I will tell you, I'm going to read this story. It's very short. We can read it in about 5 minutes. So from the hanging, now we have had, because that was October 20, it's been like a month. Is that November? Yeah, about a month now. So now, when we get to Mercury meeting with Venus, which is exciting because it's happening right now. Now, I don't know what you all have been going through. Oh no, I cut it out. Is that just me? Um, you cut what out, Sarah? Oh, am I cut out? Okay, so during Mercury, somebody let me know. I'm going to keep talking. So when Mercury and Venus get to the exact same degree, which all day today, they've been at the same degree, but like a second off. So they've been like, Venus will be at 6, Mercury's at 5, Mercury catches up to 6, but they're just like a second off. Now they will become exact. Mercury and Venus will become exact tomorrow. And in our Telegram group, I take a lot of time every single day researching the exact times of the astrological phenomena that's happening, so that in case anybody is doing electional astrology work, you'll have the exact times. So don't remember off the top of my head. I believe it was, if somebody from here wants to go look, it's astrology that I typed up today. I believe it was like 1:13 p.m. tomorrow. Venus and Mercury will be at 7 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you're doing electional astrology, this would be a really good time so basically what's happening is that Venus is getting assistance from Mercury. I'll read the story, so I won't get too much into it. So you might want to, maybe that's when you ask for a loan, or you ask for what's this? They have this thing called angel funds or something like that, where somebody will be an investor, an angel investor. So things like really good around this Mercury Venus conjunction because Venus is being divinely helped and resurrected 2:16 p.m. and that's going to be on the 21st of November. Thank you, Sarah. You are an actual real angel. Okay, so now when Mercury and Venus have that exact conjunction, now what's happening is that Venus is going faster. Venus is going to be doing the ascent phase. So during the ascent, this is where Venus is rising again, but now it's being more associated with wartime. Venus in the evening is everything that I want Venus to be, which is again, we get back into that sensual experience of being fully receptive, being all about relational orientation, the sense based awareness of our physical embodiment. Venus in the evening sky. And because now Venus is ascending or rising back up, the moon portals. So Venus and here's the moon and here's Venus. They will be coming together once a month as moon is in a waxing phase, waxing crescent. Whereas when Venus is on the descent, it's going to be the waning moon that we'll see that last little sliver of moon. Again, I do this every time, but I feel like it's super important. I'm going to turn my body around a little bit. So when you are viewing the moon, so over here is the moon. Let's act like this is the moon. The moon will fill your right side of your hand. Teach this to your kids because it's really awesome. I have so many things to do with your body to tell the exact angles between sun and moon, but this is just one I'm going to be sharing right now. And I do it every time, so you might be bored of this, but repetition is really what sinks it into you. So, is feeling right side of your crescent hand, that's when the moon is waxing. So during Venus rising, that Venus star will be with this waxing moon. When Venus is on the descending phase, Venus is going to be over here. The moon will fill your left hand when it's on the descending phase. Super fun when you're with somebody and you're like, oh, there's the moon. And you can teach them this little thing with their body and it never gets old. Like every time I'm with somebody do that, they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Maybe they're just saying that to make me feel less nerdy. I don't really know. But all right. So December 1st is when technically we should be able to see Venus again because Venus will be 10 degrees away from the sun. So that's going to be 10 degrees. So as soon as the sun sets, we should be able to see Venus in the evening sky about December 1st. So again, if you're doing electional astrology, means that you're picking a date for something like December 1st is when we're going to get it on. When we're on. Okay, so I did mention this also in the Telegram group. What I've been doing during Venus in the underworld phase, completely just my hair. Look at how my hair is. I've been wrapping my hair in oil and just keeping it in a bun on my head and like oil massaging my body twice a day and steaming, just doing all these like very ritualistic treatments on my body, like as if I were hung on a meat hook for the 90 days. I haven't been getting dressed or putting jewelry on or any of I've just been completely in like a death state of my physical and my beauty and all that. But I've been tending to my body like so sweetly. I'm talking like 3 hours a day of doing everything that I know to do to tend to my physical body. So now once Venus rises again in the evening sky, when I say it's on, now what I'm saying is like now, oh, thank you, Molly. It's very well hydrated. I'll say that. Thank you so much for the compliment. So December 1st, this is gonna be a date to like put yourself out there. Something I have been not feeling like putting myself out there because when I've been looking at myself in the mirror, I have like a head wrap on and I've been spending a lot of time in my sweats and just reading books and like, yeah. So December 1st is the time that we're going to come out. I bought new clothes from places that my ancestors are from. So I bought a dress from Mexico. I bought a over thing like a I don't know what you would call it. um I don't know how to say like it's basically like a long cotton over like a thing to wear over the dress from Africa. So I'm like I want to bring items of natural materials from places that my ancestors are from that are exquisitely beautiful. I mean, gloriously beautiful. And I'm wearing that for first as Venus is rising. And then I got rid of all of my clothes that are just not it anymore since I've been wearing sweatpants for 90 days or like 2 months or however long it's been. I was able to look at everything and be like, "Yes, Sarah, like a Shaw. Yeah, you'll see it come December 1st because I am only wearing beautiful things after December 1st. Only dresses and like all my beautiful, beautiful clothes and all the other clothes that were fitting for my old life where I was working a lot and sweating a lot because of doing massages nonstop. All of those clothes have been gifted and um given away and some things thrown away because it was just not right to have that. Sarah says, your dedication to Venus in you is inspiring. Sarah, thank you for saying that. And I will take a moment to say that my book, The Alchemy of Intimacy, has been coming up so much in my awareness because I don't know who I was talking to, but basically, like, I had this thing where I felt really like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in love and somebody loves me." And so I started like really taking care of myself and really feeling amazing, like the best health I had ever felt, like ever. And then one day I was like, "I'm not even sure that this guy really likes me, but I'm still this happy because I've been taking care of myself like as if somebody loves me." And it dawned on me that that is what my whole book is about. And so don't chase what you become. Sorry, don't chase what you love, become it. So that is basically the whole work of the alchemy of intimacy. It's to highlight what is your Venus signature. Was Venus in the morning sky? Was Venus in the evening sky? At what gate? So the moon, Venus, like I showed you here, Moon and Venus were making this conjunction every single month. And at the time you were born, Venus and the moon were doing this dance. Whatever phase that they were in when you were born, this is part of your Venus signature. So in the book, I also talk about Mars, but briefly, because I personally haven't worked as deep with the Mars cycle as I have worked with the Venus cycle. The Venus cycle is something that I have been living and breathing. And one more thing I want to mention about that is that you don't have to know it all, okay? Like it is a way to get more into a question that you might not have asked yourself, which is what do I actually love about myself? What do I actually value about myself? Once you have that, then you're able to see how your love and your value is able to extend to include others. And then once you do that, now if you do have a what I will call outer beloved, because working with Venus and Mars teaches us about our inner beloved. And I don't mean to say and Mars like off to the side, because that Mars cycle is important. And I likely will focus more on that in 2023. Because that needs a lot of work. That needs a lot of work for all of us getting into our real divine masculine. So I feel like let's I'll save that for next time because I'm not even there yet myself. So, okay, getting to know your own love and value of yourself in your life. Now it extends to include other people. I feel like words completely fall short to the actual realization of Venus within your own body, what that means for you and how that is expressed and reflected back to you constantly through your relationships, through what you choose to eat, like literally how you bring something into your body in this direction or in other directions that you're receiving things into your body. Once you have a deep connection with Venus, those things will all change. All right. So now I think I should just read the story. So, oh, I opened to the return. So this is not what we're going to start with. The return is going to be telling us about Venus rising back up to the surface. So let's see here. From the great above to the great below. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to start on page 52. From the great above, she opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, the goddess opened her ear to the great below. It's going to repeat one more time. My lady abandoned heaven and earth to descend into the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven and earth to descend into the underworld. She abandoned her office of holy priestesses to descend to the underworld. So in the back of the book, there's like commentation, commentary, and they'll tell, like in the Rumi books, there's a reason why they do that, the repeating things 3 times. And like in the Rumi books, like you read a poem and they talk about like wine and the lover and the friend, but you don't actually know unless you read the back of the book what those things actually mean. It's not what we think. So just want to drop that in. All right. So now they're going to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places. And I'm not going to say I will completely demolish them. This is Sumerian text or mythology. And I'm going to try to say the name. So she abandoned the temple to descend to the underworld. And then they list 7 different places. Now the 7 is important because Moon and Venus meet 7 times during the descent into the underworld. Now, I got chills. So once we get to the 7th place, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. She gathered together the 7 me. She took them into her hands. With the me in her possession, she prepared herself. She placed the shugura, the crown of the steep, on her head. She arranged the dark locks of hair across her forehead. She tied the small lapis beads around her neck. She let the double strand of beads fall to her breasts. She wrapped the royal robe around her body. She dabbed her eyes with an ointment called Let Him Come, Let Him Come. Bound the breastplate called Come Man, Come around her chest. She slipped the gold ring over her wrist and took the lapis measuring rod and line in her hand. So we have a crown. We have hair, crown hair, lapis beads, the robe, the wrist thing, the ring over her wrist, and the measuring line, that was 6, and then this ointment on her eyes, that's 7. Okay, so 7 things that she brings with her. She puts these things on herself, as she's going into the underworld. Inanna sets out for the underworld. Ninshabar. Ninshabar is a very important person is in this story. So remember that. Ninshabar, her faithful servant, went with her. Inanna spoke to her, saying, Ninshabar, my constant support, my Sukhal, who gives me wise advice, my warrior who fights by my side. I'm descending into the Kur, to the underworld. If I do not return, set up a lament for me by the ruins. Beat the drum for me in the assembly place. Circle the houses of the gods. Tear at your eyes, at your mouth, at your thighs. Dress yourself in a single garment like a beggar. Go to Nippur, to the temple of Enil. When you enter his holy shrine, cry out, O Father Enil, do not let your daughter be put to death in the underworld. Do not let your bright silver be covered with dust